Welcome back to the Tailosive EV podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Good to be back after a 2-week hiatus.
Oops. It sure doesn't feel like it.
I don't know why that 2 weeks flew by so fast. But how have you guys been since the last time we chatted about so much exciting EV news?
A part of me almost decided to kind of parody this and just rehash what we said last week. And I was like, you know what? It hurts my heart a little too much about, MacBook Air and all that stuff. So I have to, if you want to hear what we have to say about what I have to say about MacBook Air, other podcasts after
other
this
show,
one, other show, go to that one. But
he broke it in half.
Man, oh man. Earnings was good because I don't think we talked about that technically. I'm trying to rehash there. I think Elon.
We talked a lot about. I told my story about checking out the rear-wheel drive LFP Model 3 in the showroom, which I have a slight update on. The story is basically they have a Tesla service center up here with showroom models, and one of them had a white interior and was lithium iron phosphate, and it was built from this year. And I basically was talking to the manager at Tesla and was asking, can I buy this exact car? Please let me buy it. And she said, sorry, I can't, but have an overnight test drive. So the test drive is great. I got to test out all kinds of stuff. The front USB-C ports in the new Model 3s charge at 36 watts, which was quite a bit faster than I thought. I thought it was I knew that originally they were like 10, and then they later upgraded them to like 18, and then I thought maybe now they're 30, but now they were at 36, so it could actually hold the charge on the MacBook. So I'm like, yep, Tesla will be my new office. I'm just going to read the chat off the Tesla Theater feature on YouTube, and I'll have my phone on the wireless charger there, and then my MacBook right next to it, and just everything's powered and good. So I'm even more excited to get my car. I sent them a follow-up email later this week, and I was just like, hey, has there been any updates? We're leaving in a couple days. Can we potentially pick that one up if anything's changed? Heard nothing, got nothing. So
sad.
I'm just going to have to wait. And without naming names, because I don't want to start drama, I have contacted several people about potentially buying a used Model Y or something to see what they're going for, or to find someone I trust that's interested in selling their Model Y or has a different Model Y or different Tesla. And several people have now ghosted me. If you're not interested in selling me your car, just say you're not interested. That would make things a lot easier for me in my life.
Why you gotta do me dirty on the podcast, Drew? I mean,
The drama's with Mike.
Come on. We've all known that I've been trying to sell my Y, and I did offer it. That is true. I did try offering it, but then, you know what? No, now it's just off the table. You can't have it anymore. You'll never have.
I don't remember. It's funny because Mike wasn't actually one of the people, but now that I think of it, what would you sell your Model Y for, Mike? What's the price?
I haven't even thought about that in my head. For the low VIN, perfectly kept besides
the low
weird
VIN makes it more expensive.
Obviously.
I don't know. We're collecting comic books over here.
What is it? if I want to base it off of Randy's, $80K Model 3, I'll give mine
This is wrapped, though.
Mine's wrapped, too. Just in a clear coat to keep it...
It's wrapped clear.
It's a whole
my
clear
favorite
car.
color.
It's a nothing car.
It's like trying to rob a bank and you just put saran wrap over your face to hide it, and they're like, I can see you.
It kind of works.
But you cut eye holes.
Yeah.
I guess probably 85.
Woo!
Yep. Yeah.
Probably around
I
there.
will undercut the competition, sell to you for 80.
I just said that I based it off of your
Tempting.
number, but okay.
Tempting.
I would honestly be very interested in the Giga Texas Model Y if they put it on the configurator at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's going to happen. I've been thinking about that. We bounced back.
Oh, really?
We've been bouncing back and forth with this, in the lost episode of last week. It gave me a week to kind of just ponder about that. I don't think that's going to happen. a location configurator.
I think I might agree with you, but I want to hear why you think that.
I think the smarter business thing to do is to just not like you get what you get when you order. You buy what you buy and
just accelerated delivery type approach to the 4680 model.
Yeah. So right now, okay, I understand your question. The context is all about just dealing with these back orders.
Mm-hmm.
You almost stop a production line, even though they are coming out, but you stop the people's line order in their queue by allocating what's going where. And I think on a business end, the best thing that Tesla would do, I should say, is this one's done. Next, you like they're not looking at type of battery because you don't configure it. Anyone who's in a pre-order state right now waiting to get their car, they don't configure the battery. It's what range is it? Do you get, or what wheel drive? Like how many motors? Is it dual motor? Is it long range? Is it performance?
Yeah, they don't talk about LFP or any of that.
That's what they allocate it, and it's just all right. You're getting this one. You're getting imagine getting like at there's this fancy little place called In-N-Out. Imagine going to In-N-Out or McDonald's.
Never heard of it.
You don't get to pick if you get the fresh batch of fries or the one that's been sitting under the light a little bit longer. You get what you get because they're moving it through because you were next in line. And and similarly, it's this. Who's next? Here you go. Here you go. Here you go. Doesn't meet the specifications. It doesn't matter how long the bacon's been sitting. Did you order it with bacon? Here's your bacon. So I don't think they will ever approach it to like, oh, who wants the better battery? Like obviously people are gonna want the better newer battery of it. So.
Like they put a little Texas icon next to one of the options.
So they're not gonna they wouldn't do that
in it.
Because then you're gonna have all these people making these phone calls, change my order, I want this, and it's gonna be an operations nightmare. And as if they're not dealing with an operations nightmare right now, just trying to
it already is. Yeah.
So I would say, maybe when they ramp up. I don't think it's ever gonna happen. I think just one day the switch will just happen. They'll just trickle out. They'll phase it out. They'll do however they said with the Intel and the Macs, and they slowly start to phase them out. And you don't really know when you open up the computer what chip you have in there. Likewise, you don't know, is it LFP? Is it 4680s? You all that stuff. You get what you get.
This will be a 2-year transition.
Yeah, saving the best for the Roadster.
Okay. That's an interesting theory. I think I have a different one, but what do you think, Mike? Does that make sense?
Something in line with that. I think they're just, at some point, it's going to be Giga Texas is making their cars, whether it's 4680 or 2170, who knows. Maybe they'll tell you in the fine print when you get your car, actually. But I think it's mainly going to be something like, you go on the order page regardless of where you are, whether you're in California or Maryland or Florida or Utah or something like that. You put in your order, and then whenever that configuration of exterior and interior color and everything else is matched in a way where they have a batch maybe coming to your area or whatever, and they're checking up on you, and they start giving you the papers, that's when you'll know specifically when you've got that VIN what you're looking at, whether it's a Fremont-made Model Y, a Texas-made 4680, or a Texas-made 2170. And that's just how it's going to be. I think complicating the order page with having like a little Texas icon of this one's made in Texas is just going to make 2 very long lines of waiting for cars, where instead just have a giant... almost like turkey baster type of scenario where it's just you got all the stuff in there, and whatever comes out, that's what your car is in a way. It's a weird analogy.
Baster.
Yeah, Giga baster. Cursed theories.
Cursed theories. Well, you guys bring up good points.
What do you got?
My theory, after listening to the earnings call, and I may be crazy on this, but I'd encourage people to go back and listen to like the opening dialogue Elon gave on Giga Texas ramping up. I'm convinced they've stopped building 4680 Model Ys based on the wording they chose. I think that he said that something about the assembly line being flexible, and we've switched over to using 2170 non-structural packs, and they confirmed that they haven't used batteries from Giga Texas locally, which means all the 4680 Model Ys are using batteries that were built at Cato Road. And I think Tesla, somewhere in the supply chain, found additional 2170 packs that they could easily bring over, and they realized that we could build more Model Ys if we use 2170s instead of 4680, and now we don't have to run two separate assembly lines, one structural, one non-structural. I think they're like, well, let's just stop shipping things from Cato until Texas can build their own cells. And now that they've dedicated a lot of the assembly line to 2170s, because there's proof that lots of people in that area are getting Texas builds, but they're still the long range. That's proof that even if Giga Texas scales up to 500,000 Model Ys a year, which is like their target max run rate, that's still going to be a decent chunk of 2170 options. And as long as there's more capacity for the 2170 Model Y, because they have Fremont expanding and they have Texas expanding, then that means you will have a smaller pool of 4680 Model Ys available. So kind of like you said, I agree with what you guys said about if they update the configurator with a cheaper option, it doesn't need the icon that says Texas or anything. But let's just say today they added like Model Y all-wheel drive, and that was just a cheaper option. You're right that it would be a complete logistics nightmare because you'd have a ton of people modifying their orders because they're like, I know that one's from Texas, and Texas is better factory, better cells, future chemistry. So you'd get a bunch of modifications, and you'd have another big backlog because the capacity of the 4680 Model Y, I think, will always be less than that of the 2170, as long as Texas is still building 2170 Model Ys, which I think they will. And I don't think there will be this like quiet, silent transition. I think when Tesla says they're going to continue ordering batteries from suppliers, that means the 1865, the 2170. I think they're sticking around. I don't think their plan is to eventually phase those out entirely. Like yes, they're going to increase production of 4680, but that's all going to be eaten up by Cybertruck, Semi, whatever else comes out. That maybe cheaper Model Ys in the future if they have a demand problem. But we're so far from that being an issue that I just think that it's not like 2170 cells are yesterday's tech and we need 4680s on everything. Like, I'm still convinced that even 10 years from now, there will still be lots of 2170 Teslas being made. And like you said, I think as they ramp up with 4680 cells and however the ratio, it's a really good question that I wish someone would ask on these earnings calls. Like, what's the percentage of 4680 Model Ys versus 2170? Because it's like it's the whole Twitter bot discussion all over again. It'd be one thing if it's like 90%.
Never heard about that. What's that about?
No one's ever talked about that. Yeah, it'd be one thing if it was 90% 4680 batteries, and another thing if it was 10%. It'd be like, how game changing is this tech if it's like barely any of the Model Ys, and they just offer it as an accelerated delivery option to those in the area. If you ordered a Model Y and you're kind of within proximity, then hey, have this cheaper one or have this lower range one, but it uses new cells, which are kind of cool. I think I think we joked about it on the show. I was like, Sandy Monroe is going to tear one down before the configurator. That's happened.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's officially.
Today they were talking about the whole casting and all that and showing off how the Model 3.
Sandy waits for
Model Y
nobody.
No. He'll get the tech wherever he can.
You still can't order one, and yet Sandy Monroe is torn apart.
And he's selling the cells. He's selling the 4680 cells. They are selling it. They're not giving them away. but they've got limited supply because it's one pack that they're tearing apart.
Yeah.
Right.
So he's
and
he's possibly
they're going to make a killing on that. I think
Yeah.
they're going to make a profit if everyone buys one of those cells. They're not selling them for cheap. I think it's like $800 or something, but it's a 4680 battery. It's worth it. It's
big old soda can.
big old soda can. That would be a cool drink holder.
Well, that's what they should do with stuff like, or places like Kelman City or the, I think, Santa Monica one that's coming up soon or something like that. They should have vending machines with 4680 sized sodas.
they just roll out.
Whatever. I don't know. I don't know what they'd put in there. Yeah, maybe. I don't think they could sell that in this vending machine.
No, probably not.
But have their own.
That's my theory.
Because it could work.
That's my prediction. Is that yeah, you're right. The configurator is just not going to change unless we get demand slow down, which is not showing signs of stopping. Especially if I guess we could get into the tax credit news. Have you guys followed that at all?
Oh my goodness! Actually, this is a
Definitely
great
hasn't
week
been
for
on Twitter the
tech,
whole time.
or not tech, but renewable
For this
energy
show.
for this show. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I wasn't expecting that. I don't want to.
Me neither.
I do not want to approach this from a political stance because I don't care about that. I'm approaching it
Sure.
from the fact of just observations that, this Build Back Better plan thing that's been going. Or excuse me, I'm talking as if we all to bring everyone up to speed. This past week, Congress has passed the. It's a new name. I'm used to calling it the Build Back Better, but it's now they've renamed it something else. And part of this package has to do with renewable energy, and specifically, they're bringing back a tax credit for people who buy alternative energy.
I found the name for it.
Yep.
It's weird. I don't blame you for forgetting it. The Senate Democratic Climate and Energy Deal.
That one. Yes.
That just rolls off the tongue.
Love it. Yeah. So this was something that was originally in this Build Back Better plan that the Biden administration wanted to do about infrastructure, fixing infrastructure, internet, energy, and everything that has to do just kind of domestically for the United States. And if you are in the U.S. and you were once upon a time thinking about getting an electric vehicle, and one of the motivators was that, like, hey, I actually get a rebate off of this. That was a driving force for me to make the purchase when I did back in 2019, because the tax credit was going to go down. And if you did not order after this certain time, I was going to leave like over $1,000 on the table. And I was like, oh, well, that's just silly. So I remember expediting my order because of that incentive. And then it just progressively over time, more and more went away. And now they brought it back. Well, they have a credit back.
It's proposed. It's not passed yet.
It's proposed. Yeah. I have a very strong feeling that this one will go through because now it has.
That's what most people are saying.
It's gone further than it ever has before, and you don't want to be the guy that says, "Yeah, no, I don't." You don't want to be the person who represents whatever whoever your constituents are. That guy denied me the possibility of renewable energy and getting a credit. Like people will hold on to it. Will hold on to stuff like that. The reason why Bush Senior didn't get no new tax. Same reason. So yeah, you don't want to be that guy. I have a feeling this one will go through. Drew, because I don't have it up. How much is the
Read my lips. No mobile connectors included.
Read my lips. No non-mobile connectors included. Next week. Yeah, we're gonna stop including the mobile connector. Does not win an election. Does it tell you? Isn't the rebate or the tax credit like $7,000 or something like that?
Yeah, it's $7,500. There's a bunch of, so it's very technical. There's all these fine prints. So for one, if passed, it would go into effect next year.
Yeah.
So if you take delivery this year, it wouldn't count. It's making me think about my purchase a little bit. So
how do I delay this longer? Wait, hold on.
Yeah. It's like, where's my car? Where's my car? Take your time. Take your time. Slow down.
January
1st, please.
That reminds me of Lion King. Let me out, let me out, let me in, let me in.
Yeah. So, in case you aren't aware, there's a bunch of kind of weird terms that apply to this. So, for one, it's a $7,500 federal tax credit. So, it's not like money off the purchase of the car.
Right.
That's different. It's you still have to pay full price for the car, but it is a tax credit. So, whatever your tax liability is, subtract 7,500, which means if it's zero, you'll get a bigger tax refund if you buy an EV. And the reason I'm actually a little bit more hesitant on this one passing is it seems like a huge savings because this one doesn't have a manufacturer cap, unlike the last one. So there's still a lot of EVs like Rivian and Lucid that still qualify for the old federal tax credit, but the way the old tax credit works is that once the manufacturer delivers 200,000 vehicles, the tax credit expires or is reduced substantially. Yeah. And Tesla has delivered well over 200,000, so that's why they don't qualify anymore.
Yeah.
As has GM, so the Bolt doesn't get a federal tax credit, but I think Ford still does. And I believe Rivian and Lucid are new, so they haven't hit it yet. This would apply to all EVs, regardless of how many have been delivered, and it would last for like 10 years, which near the end of the decade or whatever. So like in 2030, Tesla's planning on delivering 20 million EVs. Well, not in the U.S. at least. So at least 5 or 6 million in the U.S. All of those getting a $7,500 credit would be quite a discount. And there's an income threshold as well. If you're a joint filer, you have to make under 300,000.
Yes.
Or 150,000 for head of household. So if you're really rich, sorry, you don't get
It's also up to a certain MSRP, right? Doesn't it cap
Correct.
at like around 80K or something?
Yes. So this is another funny slippery slope that people are falling into. So for it to qualify for SUVs or pickup trucks, the vehicle has to be 80,000 or less.
So the Roadster would still.
Thank God the Cybertruck is only 40.
Well, unfortunately, I'm just like I laugh a little bit harder every time I see someone commented yesterday on my video. No, Tesla will honor the reservation price. Spit out my teeth. I'm going to get my $39,000 Cybertruck, dang it.
Dang it.
No, unfortunately, the Roadster wouldn't because the other in sedans category is $55,000.
Oh, okay.
The other weird part about this is it means that there's only 3 Teslas on the market that qualify. It's the Model 3 rear-wheel drive and all Model Ys. Long range and performance are both under 80K at this point. So, and that counts as an SUV. So any Model Y would qualify for the tax credit, and the rear-wheel drive Model 3 would. But now the long range and performance Model 3s are over 55, so they wouldn't get it. So that's getting this pull now where people are like, "Oh, Tesla should lower the price of this so they can qualify for the tax credit." And I'm like,
that's not gonna happen.
Well, they did in Canada, but at this point, yeah, doesn't matter.
So
there's too many customers.
All it does is increase demand further, which is already crazy high.
Yeah.
And if anything, I think there's a decent chance if this gets passed, like if it's voted on and it's officially enacted into law, it's a confirmed thing. Right now, it's up in the air.
Confirmed.
But if it's confirmed, I think Tesla will increase prices. I think they'll get another uptick in demand and they'll compensate for it and be like, well, if you get $7,500 tax credit, then we can raise the price $6,000 and it's still less technically, right? Because price after incentives would really weigh in. That's my guess. But what do you guys think?
I feel that was a little misleading there, Drew. You should be in politics. I think the price because
why is it misleading?
Because I think the price is going to go up regardless, not because of the federal tax cut. I think that's just power of the course. Here's why I think it makes sense that this 7,500 would then go out to the end of the decade because one, it reaffirms the whole transition by 2025 or 2030. This pushes people to do that. Two, It might 7,500 might be a big deal now, but as I just stated, I think the prices are still going to go up. 7,500 is not going to really mean all that much. When 7,500 means a lot more when it's $49,000, which is what I paid, over 61,000. Like if the number's still the same, it's not the percentage is technically getting smaller, and we already have a cap, as you were reading off, about what qualifies for that amount. 2, I don't know if this is meant to. Let me rephrase. I don't believe it's meant to help Tesla specifically. I think this is meant to get everybody out who hasn't done it yet. So, we got like Volvo. We got Honda is doing something. I saw this week on Twitter. Honda teased something. So
they got the HRV coming, I think.
This is all for these other guys. This is say, all right, let me help you guys. Tesla had their moment, 5+ years ago for their stuff, and this doesn't really pertain to them. So you modifying your order, Drew, I don't think it really all that. It's cool that your car meets the criteria because
I locked in the price,
yeah.
So they can't change it now. But
then likewise, if you get it this year, you're not included in that. So then it is what it is. But if it's a matter of just saving the final out the door cost, I think the sooner anybody buys, you include it, anybody who's thinking about it, the sooner the better. Don't wait for, I think this will go down, or this rebate will go up, or this. I don't think any of that should be a weighing factor anymore. As someone who felt that artificial pressure because of federal and state, money coming back, whether in taxes or cash back, I can say confidently the driving force for anybody trying to make that transition, whether it's an Ioniq 5 or anything, I'm not even saying just Tesla. The driving force is time. As soon as you're ready to make that, as soon as you've made up your mind that, this is what I want to do, sooner is better, because otherwise you're going to fall into another version of waiting, like, but maybe the next, because they see these updates kind of rolling out. Now, as a Tesla owner, we all can attest that this will, they just randomly, one day we're increasing the price, this one's getting this update, this one's getting that. That's why we can't anticipate what the configurator would look like. Other manufacturers might stick to the year format still. But the 2023 blah, 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 it will be announced in June, and they might still stick to that formula. So you might think like, maybe I'll wait till the next one. But then you have to think about how prices are going to be, because nothing's getting cheaper. Inflation's a thing. Even if the rebate's going to be there, or the tax credit's going to be there, the dollar doesn't. It's getting smaller. That's just how fiat works. Like the money's going to get smaller. Don't hold on to it. If you're trying to save money, buy it now. Drew is a prime example of placing the order when he finally pulled the trigger. And then not even 2 weeks later, the price jumped and he went, oh, my God, thank God I didn't wait. It will happen.
I still regret waiting as long as I did.
Yeah, I know, but we can't cry over spilt milk, What's done is done. Now it's...
Don't do what I did. Don't wait for the perfect...
There is no perfect
model to be ready.
That's the moral. There is no perfect time. The perfect time was yesterday. So don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
What's your prediction, Mike? Do you think this will pass? How do you think it'll affect the market?
If it does pass, there's going to be a whole lot more F-150 Lightning orders, assuming Ford actually opens those up again. I could just see it now. Ford catching up in a sort of way with so many people ordering their products with the Mach-E and the Lightning and everything else, and them claiming, look, we're selling more than Tesla. And we can charge Teslas with our cars and all that. I think there's a good chance that it'll pass. I think it's like Randy said, it's going to give a whole lot of opportunity to companies like Land Rover, Lexus, and Lincoln. And I'm just looking at a whole list of the U.S. car makers.
Or the Blazer.
The Blazer. Oh, my goodness, the Blazer effect. But companies like maybe Toyota and Subaru will be more incentivized to make better EVs, possibly, or they can get away with making a Solterra and a BZ4X that are still crappy, but still get a whole lot more sales off of them because of this tax credit. So it's definitely, if it does pass, which, like I said, good chance it will, it's just going to open the floodgates to more EVs in the market. But that's not going to help unless manufacturing gets a little bit more accelerated through the supplies that are needed to make these cars. It doesn't really help. It's just going to increase the potential more. It's going to make this giant cliff even higher before manufacturers can even catch up to this cliff and try to jump off of it. And which, if they do, it might mean certain doom because they can't match that demand. So they're going to land on their ankles and break them. So, I don't know. I think it's great. It's a great way to get more people into EVs. A lot of my friends are already convinced their next car is likely going to be an EV. So it's not really going to convince them per se or convince them more. But I don't know. I don't think it's really solving much. I think the attention should be pointed more towards how can we speed up not just the adoption of EVs, but the capability of delivering more EVs to customers, because this is just incentivizing buy an EV, but it's not doing anything in regards to those that are making the EVs of like, here, let's give you more chips, or hey, you need more cells, we can get you more cells. We'll start giving a whole lot more incentives on that back end that doesn't really affect the customer directly per se, or it doesn't appear to directly involve the customer, but in the long run it does, because that gives you more vehicles on the lot. The one time that I actually drove out of my house, because I've basically been working from home for a week for other reasons. The one time that I went out of my house, I think yesterday or the day before, I drove by a few dealerships, and there's not that many vehicles on the parking lot anymore. So this whole federal tax credit thing is great, but it's not going to increase that number of vehicles on the parking lot for dealers. It's only going to increase lines of people wanting to order from the dealer, either in person or on the phone, which usually we do stuff by the phone. So I'm not a fan, but if it means more adoption, great, but it's not really increasing the capability. So I'm a little bit salty.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. We talked about it a lot last year, and it feels kind of like a repeat because everyone was convinced that this new EV tax credit was going to go into effect this year. I remember everyone talking about Better Build Back or whatever, or the union tax credit.
The words are there, just better build back. Hey, you better build back.
You better build back. At this point,
yo, Dimmadome, no more than this, so Dimmadome. That's right.
That's right.
Not right.
Not right.
Owner of the Gigatex is Dimmadome.
We need to convince Elon to do that.
Yeah, Elon should dress up as the
Doug Dimmadome.
Doug Dimmadome. Yeah, I feel like it's addressing the wrong problem. You know, I would be more in favor of it if we were building lots of EVs, but we just couldn't get enough people to buy them. And we were like, they're just too dang expensive. They're great, and we're making them, but no one wants them. Okay, enter tax credit. Now you can make them more affordable. People can justify it. But like you said, there's still huge wait times. So the problem is availability, not desirability. And if I were in charge, President Drew, I would be providing massive tax breaks or less taxes total on any company that's willing to build batteries domestic, like within the country. If you're building cells that are going to be used for electric vehicles, incentivize that so that we can address the availability problem, which is the bigger issue. Not to say that it's not helpful. I don't think it's the best way to accelerate EV adoption, but it's helpful to those who are ordering now and getting next year, because they won't feel the price hikes that are coming once Tesla gets another wave. So if you're ordering a Model Y today and this law passes, you're not getting that car till next year. but you're going to get today's pricing plus the tax credit, which is kind of a win. And the one example where I disagree, because you say nothing's getting cheaper, the 2023 Bolt got a price reduction.
Yeah. And it's getting this tax credit too.
That's the crazy thing about that tax credit, is that it would even apply to the $2,600 Bolt.
How am I not going to buy a Bolt at this point? They're only making it more and more interesting for me to buy it, because it's going to be like a $19,000 vehicle. And then the savings that you're going to have on that $19,000 vehicle is insane. Like, this is competing with Aptera at this point.
You take that risk, Mike, and you let me know how your health is by the end of it.
Well, if the Y turns out to somehow be sold to not Drew, or if it gets in a wreck, then the Bolt is, I think, like I've said, maybe in the past podcast that's lost now, or previous podcasts, it's not a bad idea as a holdover car for the time being. If there's no other cars that fit our needs, or if we want to save up for another Model Y because already it's more expensive, and if we want to get the same one, we're going to have to pay out more. The Bolt's not a bad idea as a temporary vehicle at this point with the price, and this tax incentive is only going to make it more and more interesting. As yes, I will love this thing, not because of the interior or the exterior. Maybe the exterior is okay, but not because of its lack of utility, but it's just as cheap of transportation as it can be, and still have some utility that I need for everyday life. So that's maybe the only benefit. Maybe that changes my tune.
I haven't checked one out yet, but it's going to have to be really, really bad for me to say it's not worth it. Just because looking at the range and the price on paper, and, it has the CarPlay features and stuff. So, checks a few boxes. If you can get one of those for under $20,000 after incentives, then it's got to be really freaking terrible. It better be burning in my driveway before I would say don't get a Bolt. Which it might do, but
$20,000 campfire.
Yeah, assuming it's not completely terrible, that value is pretty insane. For companies willing to sell EVs at a loss, the EV tax credit is quite helpful in that regard. If you're the type of person that just wants a Tesla and you're hoping the Teslas become more affordable, I don't think it'll help much. I think that if it passes and there's an uptick in demand, then Tesla's just going to jump the price. Or like Randy said, regardless, Tesla's going to jump the price. So there's no way around that. I don't think it will help everyone get their Teslas faster or anything. But
no.
It's interesting. It's weird that we're still talking about tax credits after all this.
It's 2022.
Back and forth.
And I missed the first one, and I'm missing the second one as well, and that's okay.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
I never really... It was always a nice idea. But in the end, kind of like how Randy summarized, I needed a car when I needed the car, and I bought it when I needed to buy it. And thankfully, I got it within almost a few weeks, but that's mainly because of my certain situation. But at that point, I wasn't focused on tax incentives. I was focused on, I need this EV now so I can save money on gas and also just transport myself to work. It was more of, I just need that basic need, and there's nothing else that I really need to focus on. So, I don't know. Maybe this is definitely more exciting for companies like Canoe. It'll incentivize people to buy these new products with a tax incentive.
They'll qualify.
Yeah, because they're built in America, and so is like Aptera and a bunch of others. So
yeah. Oh, I hope Aptera qualifies. I don't know if
I know Three Wheels doesn't.
Three Wheels throws it off a bit. I'm not sure. Here's what it is for sedans, SUVs, pickup trucks, and Aptera's like, and what are we?
Hello.
Hello. Are you a sedan? Are you a sport utility vehicle?
Are we still building back better? Hello?
Yeah. What do we do? But on the subject of price, Elon recently tweeted, I think he's setting up for more false expectations, but he was tweeting that their suppliers are trending down in their commodity prices. They're starting to see inflation decrease a bit. Why do you think he wants to tell people that, especially after saying, like, if inflation slowed down, we could lower prices, which I don't believe, but now he's actively doubling down on that tweet saying, like, hey, by the way, our suppliers are lowering their prices and stuff. Like, what's the game plan with that?
He's just tweeting into the ether. He's just thinking out loud.
He's thinking out loud.
He's thinking out loud.
I think most CEOs would keep that to themselves for any other brand.
He's not most CEOs, though.
Hey, did you guys know we're becoming more profitable today? It costs us less to build this, but we're charging the same amount.
After him telling about how the Model S is built cheaper with this new version than it was ever before.
Yeah. Right.
It's like, oh yeah, it costs like maybe $100K, but we're getting $100K back.
We switched to the yoke, we increased the display size, and we added the new luxury features. That cost about $2,000. So naturally, we're charging about $40,000 more than we were for the old model.
Was this tweet today? I'm trying to look for it right now.
I think it was yesterday.
Oh.
I think he tweeted that, commodity prices were going down and that inflation was... it was yesterday. Might be trending down. But I just don't understand what his logic is with that, or if there's like this disconnect between what Elon thinks versus what the Tesla board decides on. Because his logic is probably like, well, we don't need thick gross margin. We just need to make our cars more affordable. But then when you have the backlog as long as it is, it's like, what would be the point in lowering prices right now? Demand's too high as is.
No
Throw the tax credit in the mix. It's like,
I think it's just him thinking out loud. I mean, he uses Twitter as that thing. Sometimes he's feeling in a silly mood and talks about whatever jokes that are a little bit offhand, or a way to point out certain things that are going on, like a population crisis in a way or something like that. So it could be somewhere in that vein. It's good to hear, I guess, that the supply cost is going down, and it means that Tesla will be capable of doing further things like building a Tesla van or anything else under the sun. But yeah, for right now, it's very irrelevant with how inflation is up front on the cost for people and also the demand that Tesla sees. So
yeah, that's fair enough.
He's always been forward-looking guy.
It's a non-news news. He's just saying, it looks like it's going to be cheaper. If it was not Tesla, that might be like, hey, that's good. But because it's Tesla, it's like, oh, so better profits still. I mean,
it's great for shareholders.
Yeah, I mean,
right. So, who knows? But speaking on Tesla van, Elon was talking about the Tesla van recently, and specifically, I guess, a highly configurable robovan or whatever. He's been talking about this since like 2016 now. Do you guys think that?
Yeah, it's been a while.
This Tesla van is maybe the next thing that's going to come out after the robotaxi, and I mean,
Cybertruck.
In terms of announcements, I guess I should call.
I think they should do the van next, but that's because I don't think the robotaxi is going to happen. But that's a different discussion. They keep talking about robotaxi like that's the next step. You know, it's listed on the product status page and everything of like to be decided. And they've said in not the last earnings call, but the one before, like, we're going to do robotaxis after a factory in 2024 will just be for robotaxis and stuff. But yeah, I do think that the van would likely be less of a battery hog than the Semi. I think the more I realize how few batteries they have and they're limited by their production capacity, the Semi slows the most amount of things down, because that's like 5 or 10 Model Y's worth of batteries going into one truck. So it's just infinitely more profitable. But I think you could probably get away with using like 100 kilowatt hour battery pack in a van and probably get it to 250 miles of range or so. Doesn't need to be a super high range vehicle, but I think the battery pack size would be closer to that of a Cybertruck or a Model S and X, but the margins on it would still be really good because a bunch of people are gonna freaking live out of that thing. I know I can think of like 5 YouTubers already that are trying to live out of their Tesla best they can, and they're just kind of jerry-rigging things with the Model X and with towing and with trailers. So everyone's into the concept of living out of the van, and of course the van life is far more appealing if you can charge, and it's even more appealing if you can supercharge, because supercharging is the best network and the faster charging speed, and plus people love autopilot and everything. So I think they've easily got, even if they chose the most boring, ugly, basic design possible, it would be back ordered for years, even if it was a $90,000 or $100,000 vehicle. And they could go real cheap with it. You know, they don't have to make it luxurious. They could make it Model 3-esque interior with the, you know, they could even go cloth with the seats, basic little display approach right there. Yeah, you know, keep it real basic, but because of the demand for it, I still think they could charge whatever they want, and there would be tons of people ready to buy it. There'd be YouTube videos for days. There would be channels birthed out of this van single-handedly. Not to mention, of course, last mile delivery. A bunch of companies would buy them for commercial use, not residential use. So, like if you're trying to pursue products that are gonna be popular and just, you know, you don't want to get too niche. You don't want to choose products that are gonna cause a lack of demand issue, obviously, which Tesla's never had. But I think that would be like the most natural next step after the current lineup. We've got the cheaper sedans and the high-end sedans and the cheaper SUV and the high-end SUV and the Cybertruck, which is going to be back-ordered for years. After all that, yeah, I would say van makes the most natural step forward. It would also be used by the Boring Company. I know they have talked about wanting to use a electric, you know, higher passenger vehicle. And the only reason I would be cautious with ramping the Semi is just because I know it's going to need a crap ton of cells. It's going to need 600 to 800 kilowatt hour battery packs, maybe more, per truck. And if you could convert that into 4 vans and sell each one for $100,000, then that's $400,000 versus the semi truck, which is going to be like 200 or 250,000 or 300,000. So yeah, I want to see it, especially if, I don't know if you guys saw that solar deployment thing they had in Germany. It's like a little trailer.
I haven't seen it.
It's from Tesla. It was like a proof of concept from their R&D team, but it's just like a solar array that you could tow, or I think they were just towing.
Was that the thing that goes on the back of the Cybertruck?
It could. I haven't seen them confirm that. No one from Tesla has said this is for the Cybertruck, but on the tweet thread with the van, Elon mentioned of like with a RV, not an RV, but with a trailer or whatever, you could have a lot of space for solar that would unfold for like little shade areas if you're sitting outside it, and that would charge it up and stuff. So yeah, I loved him. I loved the concept. Yeah, Mike just posted the picture in our Discord. But yeah,
I had seen that. Yeah, I did see that.
It has to have Starlink. I feel like that's a mandatory thing. There's no way around. Like
the mobile one
comes with Starlink, obviously. But like putting that on a van that can sit 9 to 12 people, Elon could fit all his kids in it. Maybe. That's a stretch, but
hold on. It's going to be at least 3 or 4 years until that van probably comes out, if they announced it this year or next year.
Yeah.
So there's still time.
Increase his number of children by an order of magnitude in that amount of time.
Otherwise, the population is doomed.
Right. Someone needs to write that into a TV show. Like there's all these kids with the last name Musk It's like 50 people.
He's gonna be the new version of Win, Nguyen. I mean, that guy took care of Asia centuries ago. He single-handedly saved Asia. Yeah.
Ugh.
So you have Win,
subject.
and then you have Musk. We're reverting back to only two, and yeah, and then we'll ultimately it will be as it began, and then you'll either have an Adam or an Eve, and yeah,
a Musk or a Nguyen.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Siri wanted to chime in.
How do you feel about the van, Randy? Does that excite you, or do you?
No. I want to go back to this kid idea. I'm joking. No, you're not pivoting me. No, I'm joking. Does it excite me? It'd be interesting. Okay, I have a love-hate with a concept of a van because I want the van to be what basically my wife wants the original Volkswagen bus to be, where it's like an open floor concept in the back. I would love a van to be like that. Rows like you're riding an airplane or a bus or whatever, and there's no mobility back
like a
there.
transit.
Yeah, I'm just not a fan of it. I want.
Well, he did say modular, so
I like the idea of having this. It almost felt like a limo in the sense that the seats face inwards like that, and then in the back
sure,
face out.
Like a Zoox.
Something like. Yeah, it would
or
be
canoe.
Canoe. Yeah. See, that's why I liked Canoe's concept for the same reason I was vibing to the Volkswagen bus, or at least their prototype concept. So, if Tesla was able to do something like that, I would really like it because I kind of liked that direction they were going with the Model X, but the seats are still just kind of there. But if they were off to the side, pushed back, and you even, I know why you can't because of the Falcon wings and stuff like that. But like,
sure,
if that's not been a thing. Normally, when I think of a van, I think of the sliding door that comes out like that, and that's something we talked about this. My wife and I, in regards to like why a van is appealing. And it's because it takes up very little space when parking because it has those sliding doors. So I would rather have that than having, regular doors open or suicide doors or any type of winged. If it's taking up room in tight spaces, it kind of feels big and obstructive. But sliding doors are cool. So I would like the idea of having a sliding door happen, that it opens up. And you walk in, when you get in, you have this open cabin space, and you could, why not make a van? Because like a van by design is not a sexy concept. It's like that's the soccer mom car. It has almost like a stigma to it. Why not make an EV van be that parallel to like old school limos? And have all these bells and whistles. People are putting TVs and charging ports and wireless cables and everything else back there. You make a luxury version of that, and I think it would lean into a market of people who want to have that experience because they obviously got money to buy a van. Because the other thing is, it's going to be expensive. A van will be extremely expensive. It's not going to be
The difference with vans, especially a Tesla van, was that you shouldn't be comparing it to the price of other Teslas. You can compare it to the price of houses because people are going to try to move into it and make it work.
And you could take out a 30-year mortgage on it.
$100,000 van is a lot cheaper than a house.
We've talked about it. What you know how they... Whoa, that's weird. Sorry. My Ring doorbell was alerting me. Nothing.
He's just getting robbed. No big deal.
Yeah, I'm getting robbed.
Oh, well.
They'll walk behind him with you.
I'm like, God, everyone likes to stop and stare at the Tesla because new neighborhood, new people, like, ooh, look at that. So I'm like, yeah, keep walking. All right, anyway, so we've talked about the idea of what if they made Tesla or anybody, but if there was an EV RV, that would be.
Oh, yeah.
So people would absolutely live in that because we're basically calling it a tiny home because that's what people kind of classify it as. And
a lot of RVs are bigger than people's houses.
Yeah.
Some, yeah.
They get pretty big.
If I had an RV or a pretty decent sized van that was an EV, so I could just travel, I would. I see myself living on the road for some time, just traveling. I would absolutely be game to do that.
Plus, servicing. Tesla Mobile Service would use the crap out of them.
Oh, yeah.
They already are using Ford vans, unfortunately, but
Yeah,
they could fix
quickly.
that weird look.
so the concept's cool. I do like the idea of a van, and I like the idea of there being, if they could incorporate some solar configuration as well for it, just because, well, like you just said, Drew, I would treat it more like a home in that aspect too, where you have solar and help power some stuff. Yeah, I like the idea, but it has to be done right. If it's just like any other van on the inside, nah.
Would you want to look something like one of those Dodge vans or Ford Transit vans, or would you want it to maybe adopt more of the Cyber Truck-esque look?
Yeah, I would want the cyber look. I'm very comfortable with things standing out and looking different, and probably not necessarily modeling the Cybertruck exactly, but what I love about the Cybertruck is that there's no logos or branding of any kind, and you know exactly what it is just by the look. I would want something like that with the van, of like, oh, that's the Tesla van, not because of the logo or any of the branding. You just look at it and you know that's the Tesla van because it's so weird and so different. Try to make it aerodynamic, but I don't need it to look pretty. Vans are all about going for function over form. It's all about just whatever this is the most, like, I don't care if it's not painted, if you got to use steel or whatever, just have that bare metal. It's very, very similar to the multi-purpose delivery van Canoe came up with. It's kind of that concept. I think that looks cool. A lot of people hate it, but that's what I would choose.
Okay. What about you, Randy?
You want paint on your van?
Yeah, if you're driving around everywhere.
I want
all the sand and grit.
I want as much cabin space that you can get out of it and still call it a van. Okay. I don't really care about the exterior because it's all about the experience of being inside. And what always drew me towards Tesla was because of that interior comfort. There's something very relaxing in
the ambiance.
Even as something as small as the Model 3 with the glass roof, I'm like, man, I feel so not locked in. And it's very relaxing, and I just feel like there's more space in there. Well, especially because I'm a smaller guy, it really benefits that. So if I'm approaching a van, if making it look like a Cybertruck by like, less curves, so you're losing space and it's more sharp, if that gives me a bigger interior cabin space, then I'm gonna lean for that. But if you can make it work the same way with these other guys, then I'm strictly, I err on the side of what opens up the inside as much as humanly possible, which is why I want that center area to be completely open as well. That is a van could be used to lug big furniture items, carry a lot of passengers or cargo, and it's something that you can camp out in if need be, or all of the above. So however you cannot feel cramped or claustrophobic, that is the only thing that I'd be like, yep, I want that one. So how it looks on the outside, completely indifferent. I don't care.
Gotcha. I think we're in the same boat on that one. I just had the concept of, I don't think it should come with seats in the back. I think that should be like a separate thing. Like, you just order it bare bones. It has a driver's seat, maybe a passenger seat right next to it, but that's it. And then just put like a rail system in the back section. So if you want to maximize, it's just going to be you and your wife driving around, or if it's a delivery van, you don't need to put seats back there. But if you're the type of person that wants to move a bunch of people, Tesla could just sell those seats separately. You're still ordering from suppliers, but you could buy luxurious seats that are, ventilated and heated, and just have pivot points to screw in and then power to deliver to those seats. You can buy those separately. Or if you don't care about the luxury factor, you can buy some cheap cloth seats, maybe even from a third party, and just they have the seat belts built into them, and you put in as many rows as you want, and it make that whole section of it modular so that it's just all open in the back. It's ready for customization. It doesn't need to be one of those like plug and play type of products where it's just perfect out the gate and everything's ready to go. It's like you make it the way you want to make it. That's what I would like to see. Tesla just give complete control. It feels like that's what they did with the Cybertruck. They were like, well, so many people are wrapping these things anyway. Why do we need to paint it? Why do we need to wrap it? Let's just deliver it bare steel and they'll make it the color they want it to
or
be.
offer
That's what we
more
need.
options. I wrapped it because I wanted more options. So
Yeah. Colors they didn't have.
Which unless it's something new change, I heard that they're exploring the idea of introducing more colors again.
Yeah, Giga Berlin is I think they spotted one crimson red, and they've talked about a new silver and a new blue.
Ooh.
So there's new colors in the pipeline, but I do have to agree it seems kind of like a waste of time.
Crimson.
The crimson Y.
Here comes the crimson Y. And the boy Chin Wonder. It's because you did the Del Dimmadome Digadome thing, and I got
that's our theme.
I got Fairly Odd Parents on the. Oh man!
This episode is sponsored by Nickelodeon.
Yeah, if I could rank the undelivered Tesla's order of importance, like Model Y, 3, S and X, they're all out. But if we're just talking about the upcoming ones, I would say don't work on the van and take time away from the Cybertruck. Obviously, the Cybertruck should be priorities. That should come first. Figure that out at Giga Texas and get it online and figure out how to ramp it up quickly. After Cybertruck, I would put the van. I would say once the Cybertruck is kind of ramped and operational, I think the van should come next because it's not going to require an insane number of batteries, so it wouldn't be a too big hurdle on 4680s, but it would be extremely popular, both from customer service, last mile delivery, and YouTubers, people wanting to live out of the van.
And screw everybody else who try to get a Roadster. You guys just don't exist.
You guys get to wait longer.
Everyone who reserved the Roadster is probably driving a Plaid Model S at this point. Like they are not sitting with their gas cars wondering when they're if you could drop 50 grand in 2017 on a reservation, you have money. You have either a performance Model 3 or
if
you
okay, new rule. Anybody who reserved a Roadster is now automatically getting they become a percentage. They get an equity in Tesla. They are not angel investors, but you put that type of money into it so early on. Like you should be invited to physically sit in at these shareholder meetings. You should have some percentage of equity in Tesla at that point because
I'd love the data on that. How many people have actually done it?
Dude, I want to know because ever since you said it, I've thought that's true. Free money that they just gave to Tesla years ago that they when they needed it, that
for nothing and they
for
got
nothing.
Nothing.
If that's not an investor, I'm not talking a shareholder. I'm talking like straight up investor.
Yeah.
If that's not describing an investor to me, then I don't know what is. Minus obviously technicalities, you need to be an accredited investor. And I get all that. The point I'm saying is that if you're a Roadster reservation holder and you got something that says, "Hey, here's my icon," or "Here's my NFT," you should have some type of investor like perks, whether you get to go sit in on these meetings or you have some type.
How about lifetime premium connectivity?
Something. I'm sure they're not even thinking about that.
Nah.
They should be able to test drive the first anything that comes. They should be VIN number 1 on the next thing.
They get R&D department access. They can go look at this stuff.
They've driven the Cybertruck many times since. They just can't talk about it. Something. I
Yeah,
feel
yeah,
so
yeah.
bad about somebody because even though, most likely you probably have the money to do that, think about all the people who actually, just kind of, middle America, drank the Kool-Aid and was like, I can get behind this, and I'm getting up there in my age, so I want to get a nice, two-seater, and they just kind of, they bought one of those, and they just been
make me
waiting.
think someone like reserved the Roadster and then died before they delivered it.
They're like 60 years old.
I would love to
Die later
see
because of cancer.
the data. That's all I'm saying. Show me the data.
I'd love to see
The
where
age
the location of these
demographics.
people are. Yeah, that too. The age, but also where they are located on Earth. Like just
I
seeing
don't think they're all
is it a big
YouTubers,
concentration
man.
Yeah,
think
is
they're all
it a big
into their
concentration in
will.
LA, or do you have like a
It's part-
decent
it's
amount
part-
like in the Midwest?
It's part of a trust fund now that's been passed
I
down.
bequeath my
Oh.
Roadster reservation to my
bequeath.
grandson.
I've been a member. It's like trying to be for American football fans. It's trying to get season passes to the Green Bay Packers. Those things are generationally booked out in advance, and that's like
You're buying them for
At
your
this
son
point-
or your son's
Yeah.
son.
You're buying it for your grandkids.
At this point, yeah. At this point, most of us on this show are probably going to be dead by the time before the Roadster gets delivered. At this rate, but
the Loch
no,
Ness
that's my order.
monster will be seen before a Roadster.
Well, hey, yeah, they just found out recently, I guess, way
On that
tangential,
subject,
that
That's why I
well,
said
you
it.
mentioned it. The fact that
It's
Nessie is probably confirmed to be an existing dino in that area that likely could have been around this long, I guess. So,
guys, I'm worried about the Loch Ness monster.
0 to 60, and yes,
How fast is the Loch?
premium interior.
No, but my ranking of importance is still Cybertruck, van, semi, and Roadster is just always going to be at the bottom. There's like anything else you can think of is going to be more important than the Roadster.
Do you remember, guys, when I think 2016 or 15, at least 6 years ago,
The 21st night of September.
something like that. Do you remember when Elon was toying with the idea? He thrown a what we call an Elonism now, but he threw like an offhand comment like, it'd be kind of cool to have the Model 3 maybe go in the water, and it just like a James Bond
that's
vehicle.
because that was back in I think 2017 or 2018.
Something like
Wait,
that.
no. It was 20. It was 2019. I remember because I was at that location. I was in Mountain View checking out the Model Y, or was it 2020? No, it's 2019. It was 2019. They had the 3 red vehicles at the shareholder meeting, and then at the very end of that same day, a certain individual asked about a James Bond-esque car that could go into the water and hydroplane and all that. So it hasn't been that long necessarily. That'd
He
be
talked
cool.
about it sooner than that, though, because I remember
Okay.
it even getting referenced in that biography that was written about him in 2017 or something. It was before the launch of the Model 3, or it's ramping up with the Model 3 before like full-fledged, deliveries and stuff. And I do remember seeing him talking about that. They were like, yeah, it'd be cool to have the car. If you want to launch it off the dock over here, you could just do that. And I bring it up because we speculate about a van next. We speculate about where is the Roadster in the priority of things. And then
The bottom.
the bottom. And then we've heard
Roadster's a bottom.
we've heard comments of such, far out there ideas like, I want my Model 3 to be a submarine. And then there you go. I want it to be James Bond, a real life James Bond thing. What all that for me like kind of has in common is that I think that they kind of tinker around with all these concepts and ideas all the time. And it's not that divert priority away from something that is a little bit more realistic in expectation, like meeting orders for the Model Y. But I feel that we will, or the ATV was another one, and that's something that we actually got to actually see. I feel like if it's not going to get the most amount of traction anymore, it's just going to die. Like I don't think we're gonna see a Roadster in the way that we think of a Roadster now. I think when they revisit the Roadster again, and it will be again, it's going to be something that has to be so abstract and so far out there that it's just to meet those old like a decade old obligation of people who had a reservation for it. But it's going to be such a gimmick and such a small thing that it's that's why it's low hanging fruit. I don't know. I don't believe we will see an ATV or a submarine Model 3 or a van for like in Elon's tenured as CEO. I just don't.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that's going to be a thing. I think we are at the point in Tesla's history where Model Y, best-selling car, just car, and then we just refine. We're at the point of refining the iPod or the iPhone type of a thing, not looking for the next iPad or whatever. It's now just like, this is what's selling, this is what people want, this is what we're going to divert all our attention on at every single gigafactory, while also our R&D is kind of tinkering around with this, that, or the other, whether it's going to be something you want to take out to the desert and drive around with an ATV, or you want to have a submarine or a floating car, or you want to have a van life or a camper or anything that does not sell by the masses and now introduces the concept of blocking out pre-orders, or if you pre-order now, you won't get it for another 8 months. If that doesn't happen, it's not worth Tesla's time to do anymore. And I think that's going to be kind of Elon's legacy. I think when he steps down and he ends up focusing either more on SpaceX or whatever, when the time comes and he's done with Tesla as CEO or acting, being an active member on with the company, I think that's when they'll try to not reinvent themselves, but then explore new concepts with other things. But I don't think I have reservations about the Semi, to be honest with you. I don't even think the Semi is going to be the same. I don't know, anything. If Rivian, for example, with Amazon, and they got their thing going now, if Rivian's able to make something that's cheaper and they just want to license something out to Tesla, and it's just cheaper and not worth their time to keep working on the Semi themselves, and they work with Rivian, okay, it's a symbiotic relationship with two different EVs, and that's just something that could just be what it is. I wouldn't put it past them to just kind of outsource some of that stuff, because they don't look like they care all that much about the PR anymore about using a gas Semi, a Semi today, to lug their cars around. They're like, yeah, necessary evil. We use gas to get into space. I mean, it is what it is. It's a necessary evil. So I think the PR part's
real
done.
Gas. Yeah.
Real gas. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my thought about the whole pecking order of things. I think Cybertruck just has too much attention on it, but for us to be like, what's the next thing? Yeah. What's the next thing? I just don't believe we will get a next thing for a very long time. That's my belief today.
That's probably a good expectation to have moving forward. I think Tesla thinks that the robotaxi will be the next big thing. That's the next big unveil, a driverless vehicle. But I don't believe it will be. I don't think that'll be something you can buy. And I don't think that the software is going to improve at the rate that they think it does, just based on how I've seen the beta perform and watching lots of different channels in different regions. I haven't actually checked in with you, Mike. Have you used the beta much lately? How's it going?
Not lately, how's it work? Since I haven't been in the car for basically a week. But
wow,
I guess last week it was, or maybe not last week, but the week before, it was fine. It's been fine, as in like, yeah, it's got its quirks. Sometimes it wants to brake and accelerate at random times, whether there's a flashing yellow light or something else, which is a little bit annoying, especially after it meeting a flashing yellow light almost daily and it's still not knowing what to do with it. But it does. I think a lot of the criticisms are valid for FSD beta, for it not being developed quickly, or I guess at a quick rate. What am I trying to say? It's not being developed at a rate that people are expecting it to be, to where it should be a finished product today or whatever. But it has gone a lot further than, or has. I'm having trouble trying to describe this. It's gone a very far distance in its development, and that's something that should be recognized. But yeah, I think maybe some more campfires need to be lit underneath these software programmers at Tesla to get this thing done quicker. And which maybe that's what they're doing with the Tesla bot and the robotaxi, is that this is them being able to go full force, not have the liability of random people enlisting and having a whole lot of litigation and lawsuits. They can just take the Waymo and Zoox approach, test it on their own, have their own employee in there who's contractually obligated to get this done and not sue, and get it done quickly. So, to answer your question, it's going well.
Okay. Has it? It sounds like it hasn't reaffirmed any, or not changed your mind much on how long it's going to be until level 3 or 4, that kind of thing.
Not necessarily. No. Maybe level 3 could be next year. I don't really believe the FSD complete by the end of this year type of thing from the Techno King, but I do think it is on the horizon, and a lot of these expectations are valid from the Techno King himself. But I don't think they're going to be that quick. I think it feasibly, from what I've observed firsthand, next year is a better bet than what we've seen in the past couple years.
Okay.
You're starting to sound like Elon. Yeah, next year.
Yeah. I've gotten more and more pessimistic as time has gone by. It's
Welcome to my side of the aisle. I gave up what was it, 2 years ago? Or that I gave up. Yeah.
Yeah. I think after there's always another hype word. There's always a dojo. There's always a V11. There's always another single stack, There's always something that it's like, once they do that, and then they do that, and it's like, yeah, well. Because I was just thinking in my head the other day, like, it was like a year and a half ago that he was tweeting, like, I have the latest version on my car, and
it's next
drives
gen
with no interventions to work. Yeah, it's like, that was 18 months ago. He was tweeting that he doesn't need to intervene to go to work, and we're still seeing, pretty obvious flaws or things that would prevent it from going completely driverless. So I've definitely been pushed, based on what I've seen, more towards this will always be the best driver assistance feature. I don't think it's ever going to be a driver replacement feature, but if they start building hardware around it being a driver replacement, then I feel like they're setting themselves up for disaster. Do you think Tesla would go as far as to start building like a factory specifically for robo-taxis, even if the software's not completely done yet? Or do you think they won't?
Right now, they're more than capable of opening up some hallway or tent at Fremont to build these robo-taxis for street testing and all that, and to accelerate robotaxi even further than what it is right now with the FSD beta. But to build a whole new factory, I think that's when they've proved, both on these robotaxis that they plan on building, along with all of the sexy lineup and further, that FSD beta can do it. I think that's when we eventually see it. But like we talk about with FSD beta all the time, it's always on the horizon, or like it's always distant future. Maybe not, more than likely not happening at the end of the year, but maybe in the next decade, probably. So I'd maybe chalk that up, or that idea of a robotaxi factory, as like a 2030 thing. that we might possibly see. What about you, Randy?
You have a lot more hope than I do. How about you, Randy? I think I know where he sits.
Yeah, no, I can tell you right now. There's no. I use FSD today when I am sitting in traffic, and it does just fine for that. In regards to like, am I using it? I actually have a lot of fun just driving my car without it in the neighborhood, in town.
Mm-hmm.
Long trips, I'll do it, but long trips are few and far in between. I don't like how it moves today when I get in my car in the driveway, boom boom, and then it tries to and the wheels turning and do it. I don't like it.
The city street turning and stuff is too janky for you.
It makes Brittany very uncomfortable still.
Oh yes.
And that's more important. I'm like, okay. She goes, if you want to do it, fine. I trust you're being safe. Please be safe. I don't feel comfortable with it. She goes, we tried it, we for 3 years now, and it's just like, it's cool when we're in motion and there's traffic. You don't want to deal with it, but like this whole, like the way it tries to speed up and it brakes and speed up and it's still kind of, it's very much a beta. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I was like, well, baby, it's just a beta. And I think I said this before. Now I'm the jackass who's trying to defend it 3 years later. And I'm the one, the meme where like, if I keep waking up early and trying really hard, maybe one day they will acknowledge my effort, and I'm putting on clown makeup, and they will give me the promotion I deserve. And that's how I feel like defending. Next year. No, just next year, babe. Don't you worry. It's just a beta. So I've given up on the whole beta thing. I don't regret buying FSD for $6,000 because it's like, would I be okay with what it was at its time for $6,000 then? Maybe back then I'd be like, it's a bit much, but where it is today, I would have paid $6,000 for where it's at today. But I will never do it again. I think the subscription model is the better alternative because it's, even in my own lifestyle, it would be the exception to just, I'm going to take a trip this month. Boom, boom.
Sure.
Take off. Fly. But otherwise, no. And especially being in a rural part of, the state now, where it does perform very uncomfortably on not showing when to turn or go up certain roads and stuff like that. It really opened my eye.
That's fair.
It opened my eye. Yeah. In San Diego, it's like, oh yeah, you were made for this. Here, it's like, this is new terrain even for both of us, buddy. Don't you worry. It's new terrain for both of us. But I don't think I don't think we're ever gonna get driverless cars. I don't think we'll get vehicles with no steering wheels. That's not a thing, like, really now in anything else that's out deployed or in the fleet of society now. Trams, trolleys, all that stuff has an operator still, even though it's doing most of it. Buses, anything else that like is mundane still has an operator. And even if it's automated, I mean, a plane has an operator. Everything still has an operator behind it as a just in case that you can take full control over. So full autonomy or a robotaxi, just the concept's cool for a movie, and it's like, ooh, imagine this is a time of whenever that would be a thing. Not in 2022, not in 2032. Maybe when I'm old and retired, maybe that'll be closer. But I appreciate them trying. I will still give credit for trying because it's moving the needle forward. I applaud that. Not something I'm really all that interested in anymore, personally. It's just I drank the Kool-Aid a little too hard a couple years ago, and I'm like, the Kool-Aid's a little stale now.
You chugged the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
I'm still hopeful for level 3 later this decade. That's what I'm hoping for. I just want, at some point, even if it's in limited form, just on the freeway, just if you're in a certain environment, you don't have to pay attention. That's all I'm shooting for. I'm not going for level 4, level 5 stuff. I'm just like, yeah, I think that's going to be too big a loop, but too big a jump to achieve. And liability wise, it's this huge headache. If it's just a really, really good driver assistance feature, it's not that complicated legally because there's still a human there. There's still someone to take over. There's still someone in charge of the vehicle. So that's where my hope's at. We'll see. We got a lot of waiting to do, but I should probably just get the car first, and we'll start with that. We'll see how that goes.
Or just wait till January 1st.
Yeah, I don't know how that's gonna work. I don't know if
it'll be the nice guinea pig for
delaying. Us. Yeah, right. But appreciate you both of you for making the time today. I know we both have you both have stuff going on, but we got a show in here. Hopefully, if you're listening to this, it means that the podcast was saved. It worked. And if you're not, oh my God, how did you get in here? Thank you all for tuning in. The air. Yeah, it's not. Have a good week, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you in August.